So again, it's been 20 years out from the passage of the FRA, over 20 years since the moratorium steering committee was formed. Do you think, or what do you think that we did learn or could use today in politics in North Carolina that you observed during that whole process in the 90s?
Yeah, I think it comes back to your question about why a moratorium. I think we learned that if there's a way to kind of step back or try to step back and try to bring people together and try to listen to people, often you hear about government agencies holding listening sessions, and what that often means is that people are supposed to come and listen to the government agencies tell them about what rules they're proposing. What the moratorium steering committee did is they convened these gatherings where people came and could be heard and could talk and could be listened to, and that was a valuable lesson. And it showed that what appeared to be irreconcilable differences were not that irreconcilable. Now, people were reluctant to give up positions in favor of interest. They were kind of wed positions, but through this process, people began focusing a bit more on what the interest was rather than the positions. We weren't successful in completely doing that. As I mentioned before, there was still work to do afterwards. There's still a level of acrimony among the various sectors in North Carolina. But I think it was a very effective tool, and since Governor Hunt, I haven't seen a governor in the state of North Carolina who's had the patience, had the passion, and had the foresight to actually spend the time and the money. I mean, that was a long process. I mean, from the imposition of the moratorium to the law was 3 years, which was relatively long when you're faced with a moratorium on commercial fishing licenses. So I think the biggest lesson is maybe one of process, is starting off by saying everyone has a legitimate interest in this policy debate. Everyone needs to be heard. At the end of the day, however, the government, the legislature, and the executive branch have a duty to lead. I think that's often sacrificed. Often, if the government's in the middle of a resource dispute, I think they're often afraid to choose. They're afraid to lead. They're really desperate for consensus. And if they don't get it, they're paralyzed. I think some of that happened in North Carolina, but I think at the end of the day, Senator Basnight and Governor Hunt came together and basically agreed on legislation that would move things forward. And so my lessons are process, getting everyone at the table, listening to everyone, taking time, and in the end asserting some leadership and making decisions which you don't have to live with forever. Now, in the case of FRA, as you've pointed out, it's been almost 20 years. It's probably time to dust it off and to open it back up and to revisit how we manage our resources. And one more lesson is that it's really hard for people, myself included, to get rid of preconceived notions.